No, here. Look at that. Look at that. You like that? Ooh.
You're not shy, man.
Ooh.
UFC champion. How do you Islam?
Chael, he's just a sexy boy. Sexy boy.
He's not your boy toy.
You saw that?
Toy.
You saw that?
Islam flinched. When you took your shirt, he flinched. Like, I mean, he think you're going to whip him with that shirt or something?
No, he just respects what I used to do to him in the gym. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I'm Daniel Cormier, Chael Sonnen, or Fat Guy, Bad Guy, because it is Islam Makhachev's fight week. Dude tried to rename my show. He's disrespectful, Chael.
That is disrespectful, but it's funny. I mean, I got to tell you one thing about him, and the same thing is for Khabib. Like, they are secretly funny, and they're
so
very
funny.
charismatic. I wish they would come out more.
Yo,
and
how
I'm
did
not
you-
sure Islam doesn't have a little heel quality to
he
him,
does.
by the way, if he wants to.
But how did you keep it together when we interviewed him last week on the show? He was saying funny things, but you never broke character. How'd you do it?
I was trying to listen. The one thing about it, like, I wanted him to understand me. I did not want him to say, like, hey, you speak too fast. Can you slow it down? And I knew you guys understood each other. I wanted to be part of the group is what happened, man. I just wanted to, like, be part of it. That was my first time meeting Islam, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, and one thing about it is I respect these. I'm a fan. So when Islam pops on, like, that's a big deal for me. I kind of want to get to know him. I kind of want to see what his personality is like. I kind of wanted to know firsthand and behind the scenes, does he know what a hard fight he's in? Because he and Dustin probably were not going to meet up if Dustin didn't have that great win over St. Denis. It was a come from behind. Does Islam know Dustin can beat anybody, including him, at any point in the fight? I mean, that's one thing about Poirier. He never gives up.
You know, I literally just released an interview I did with Islam yesterday on my YouTube, and he knows, right? He knows. But I think he is so confident that it doesn't register that it could be a problem. Sure. Because he believes in his training, his work, his teammates so strongly that he doesn't believe that Dustin Poirier really has a chance to beat him. And honestly, when you look at the betting line, I don't have it in front of me, it seems as though Vegas doesn't believe it either. I mean, honestly, man, Islam by submission is like minus 115 at this point. And that is a high number to say that the likelihood of this fight ends by Islam submitting him. It's actually a really crazy thing, knowing who Dustin Poirier is.
Do you buy into the idea that I do, which is Islam is also trying to compete with the legacy of Khabib? This is a common opponent.
Look, here you go,
Khabib
Chael.
finished him in 7.5 minutes, so Islam's got to finish him faster. I mean, do you believe it? That's not fair to put on Islam.
No,
but
it's
do
not.
you look for those things? Because I think it is going to be a narrative. I think if he takes longer than Khabib or he takes quicker than Khabib, we're going to be discussing it on Monday.
I think absolutely. Anytime you always register, but like, I mean, look, Islam is minus 650 to Dustin's plus 425. Yeah. And Dustin spoke about the disrespect that is the betting lines. Also, the way that he feels Islam is looking past him. He has said it publicly. I think this man is looking past me. But you know when you got a guy that goes into a fight as such an underdog, you start to wonder and question, how do you prepare him, right? Benoit Saint-Denis was able to take Dustin kept jumping guillotine. Dustin was very clear on that. He goes, he never took me down. I jumped guillotine every time. Yep. But Benoit was able to win the first round against Dustin. You and I spoke about that last week. Dustin got the knockout, won the fight, earned the championship opportunity. So now when it's time to start building for Islam, you're Mike Brown, who is one of the best coaches in the world. Dude, Mike Brown has had as good a second start as anyone in terms of going from the active athlete to the coach. What are you telling Dustin Poirier? What are you, as the coach, trying to make the game plan to try and unseat a guy that seems pretty unbeatable right now?
Okay, now, again, and I will admit that this is likely unfairness by me, but it's the way I'm feeling right now, which is to go back to Khabib. They both a common opponent, even if it's in the practice room. To go back to Khabib, one thing that Dustin Poirier said, and this got picked up on hot mic in between corners, but Dustin said it to Mike Brown, and he just said, he's talking about Khabib, but he said, he's not giving me any space. I cannot get my offense going to Daniel. I love to always tell the audience, a fight is a dance. In that, only one person can lead at a time. That's like kind of a thing that I'm known to say, but it really is true. And Dustin's comment was, he's never giving me my turn. If you watch boxing, kickboxing, even MMA, one guy goes while the other guy covers, and then the other guy goes while this guy covers, and they just trade that back and forth. One of them breaks the deal, tries to get a punch through. Maybe you turn to the judges, maybe you hurt the guy, but Khabib never gave Dustin the opportunity to start his offense. Islam, I believe, is going to do the same thing. So when you talk about what is Mike Brown going to do, they need to be able to turn to that. How do I get the ball back? If he's not going to slow down and defend to give it to me, how do I take the ball back? And they do have the advantage. I think fighting Khabib is an advantage. That surprised Dustin. He didn't know somebody could have that pace over him. Dustin had just come off a fight with Max Holloway, by example, who's known for his pace. Max couldn't take the pace for him. He needs to be ready for that against Islam. And that answer is very hard unless you can slow a guy down. Daniel, in wrestling, we would tell our kids, grab his wrist, get a 2-on-1. But to slow him down to get a control. Dustin is going to need to get a control and slow Islam down.
Yeah, he's going to have to slow him down. Now, this is where we start. If I'm coaching Dustin Poirier to fight against Islam Makhachev, I am going to say, don't ignore the information that we have now that we didn't have before, right? One of the things that Dustin said in that moment, Chael, he's not letting me go. And he said afterwards, I've never felt someone control me in that way. Nobody's ever done this to me. So it's almost surprising when those guys grab you. There's been moments where we're in practice and I'm going with Khabib or Islam and I'm the big guy. So generally, a smaller guy gets on top of you. When you decide it's over, you just throw him off of you.
Yep.
No technique, no skills. You just literally grab him and you kind of throw him off of you. I'm grappling with Islam once and I try to throw him off of me, but he's still there. And so I give him a little harder shove and he's still there. Next thing you know, I'm grappling at 100% because the dude's that strong. But again, I had never really grappled with him in that way, like at a decent pace. So I didn't recognize the strength when he was trying to keep me down. Dustin now knows it, right? It's not unknown to him anymore. The first time he felt that was when he had Khabib on top of him, and he goes, holy cow, this is much different than anything I know. This is a lifelong grappler's strength. He's felt it. Use that information to remind Dustin, hey, let's not jump guillotine like we did on Khabib, because remember, he jumped guillotine on Khabib. Khabib said it was tight, but he's not going to tap.
Yep.
He's not going to tap to the guillotine. He's going to work his way out of it. Take that information, build the plan. Recognize what's in front of you, and get the right guy. Now, when I was talking to Dustin yesterday, I saw that he has Mateusz Gamrot with him. Step number one,
really?
Complete. Right. Now, does that not... See, that's the reaction I wanted from you.
Excellent partner.
Exactly. Make the right decision. That was step one. Now you can start to build because Mateusz is going to try to take him down.
Very much.
He's going to try to take him down multiple times in a way that Dustin's probably not used to.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Dustin doesn't have a lot of options. Like, by example, if he believes that Islam is going to put this pressure on, which is an intangible, it's very hard to completely isolate. It's even hard as a viewer to know it when you see it. But if he believes that that pressure is going to come on and that he has an answer for it, he will have a confidence to go out and experiment with that game plan. If he doesn't believe that he has the correct answer for it, he will simply deny it. He will simply go into denial and say, it wasn't that much with Khabib. He kind of surprised me. It was an off night. I had a bad dinner the night before. And I'm sharing with you, like, fighters really will go through that. Like, they will find an excuse if they don't have an answer. Dustin is as gritty and dirty of a competitor as I have ever seen. He just is handsome. He's got a nice smile. He doesn't curse and put...
So
the audience, a lot of times, they don't understand. This guy is as dirty and gritty as they go. He is as much a competitor that's got that fire in his belly. And that's what he's going to need, because he's going to lose moments of this fight. He's going to lose rounds in this fight, but he has a chance to win the fight.
Jill, Dustin and I went to the same high school.
Really?
It's 98% black, dude. Dustin Poirier went to a school where there was nothing but brothers. He's not afraid of nothing, dude. Dustin Poirier is a guy that is going to fight you until the end. And I know that's why it's exciting. I was speaking to Dustin the other day on the phone, and I said to him, sometimes there's destiny, right? As you try to figure out ways. I said, that Prudential Center is on Lafayette Street in New Jersey.
Yep.
And he goes, that's true, DC. Is it destiny? Because everybody's always searching for something. He goes, but
Sure.
DC, let's be honest, you might as well be from Dagestan. Right? He told me that because they always kind of got that because of the teammate thing. But
Sure.
He'll keep fighting. He won't give up on himself. He's going to try to get it done. He's dirty, he's gritty, he's tough. But that durability, that grittiness, that toughness, that star quality has put him in position time and time again to fight for the UFC championship. We put a graphic up there a little earlier. Speaking of Dustin's chances. Now, Dustin fought Max Holloway for the interim title. He won that fight. Dustin fought Khabib Nurmagomedov for the undisputed championship. He lost that fight. He fought against Charles Oliveira for the undisputed UFC championship. He lost that fight. He fought for the BMF title, and he lost that fight. This is easily his last opportunity to become the UFC champion. He has said publicly he will not work his way back to a championship opportunity.
Yes, he did.
Is that a pressure that he does not need?
I also didn't know how to interpret that, Daniel. When a guy has 1 foot out, when a guy announces it's going to be my retirement fight or my last fight, he's attempting to tell the audience, come and join this with me, and he's attempting to tell himself, I'm going to put everything into it because it's my last one. It just doesn't work out that way. When that door is open and you're 1 foot out, it doesn't work out. But the reason I tell you that, it's not quite what Dustin said. He said that he's not going to rebuild that if they have big fights, they have championship fights, he may even look at 170 pounds, do some things for some parity, the McGregor type, Diaz type matchups. I'm only making that point that he is not 1 foot out. He has not talked about being done. He's not talked about retirement. He has talked about, I realize to a degree, this is the biggest opportunity I'm going to get, and I'm not going to have another title fight unless I'm the one bringing the title. But that's very different than saying it's my last one if it doesn't go well.
You know, I told him that, man. I said, dude, I made a thing talking about your career, and I said, I'm not saying I hate that you mentioned that word because I think that you're not ready for the fight. I said you mentioned that word, and it makes me sad because for a long time you've been one of the best fighters that we've had, and you're as fun as anyone that steps inside the octagon. And if you start to shift, and I think this is a massive mistake I made, right? And I'm only speaking from experience. When you start to go, I'm done at this time, you look at the other side, Chael. The other side's pretty fun, man. You don't get punched no more. You sit down and you talk about people fighting. You still get big checks. It's not that bad.
Sure.
So to look at the other side can be a bit scary at times. And I don't want Dustin doing that. But Dustin said he's all in. He's got his daughter coming for the first time. It really does feel like it's either a coronation or a funeral, right? It's either going to be
well said.
The coronation of the new king or a funeral in terms of his career. That's what it feels like to me, and it seems like the guy is going all in. And it makes me sad to think that, dude, we saw that kid back in the day from Lafayette, Louisiana. He started his fight. Josh Grispy was the first guy he fought. UFC was on the undercard. I watched it from my 700 square foot apartment in San Jose when I first started fighting myself because I had to respect and appreciate and support the Louisiana guy. To think that that little kid that I watched then is almost done, sad. Because he's been so much and meant so much to the sport.
Oh, yeah. No, he represents an era, an entire generation. If I can just make one comment to make it my final comment, but if I look at history as the greatest trajectory to the future, there was a young Dustin Poirier, 26 years old. He got brought in to fight another young athlete named Conor McGregor. And everybody believed Dustin was going to lose. Dana White even made a statement about Conor that I'm bringing him along slowly, which if you read between the lines means I think this is a favorable matchup. Dustin went out there and he found a way to fulfill that prophecy. He bought into it. And I could tell by his interviews ahead of time, this young man has got the script and he's going to follow it tonight.
Lose,
He got a rematch with Conor McGregor, and the same things were said. And I'm not convinced that he was a whole lot better. It was a completely different fight and a completely different outcome. It upset him. In fact, he went to number 3 with Conor McGregor. The same narrative was out there. It upset him, and he stood up to it. He did not go along with it, and he didn't back down. And the same thing happened with St. Denis. He was written off, and he was upset about it. He was going to show the world, in fact, you want to do short notice, fine. You want to add 2 rounds and make it a 5-rounder? Fine, I will show everybody. And I only say that because we have seen him in this position, and this is a test, and we have seen him pass the test. He is a guy that can deal very well, apparently, with the world saying you can't do it, and him saying, I only need 1 shot.
That's all he needs because he's so powerful and he hits so hard. Guy's a savage, man. He's a fighter in every sense of the word. Now, it's a big fight week. And you know when you know it's a big fight week? When guys start going on First Take, and yesterday the Diamond was on with the crew. This is what he had to say.
What's one thing we can expect to see from you? Just give me one thing.
A guillotine?
He on that guillotine, man. He said he's on that guillotine. He said, Dustin Poirier said, I am going to submit someone with my guillotine because I know it's that good. It's that good. So it leads me to this question. Hey, Chael, to Gilly or not to Gilly?
To not to Gilly. Really? I think that I assumed that was a joke because he literally yelled during his fight at 299.
No more.
You better not do another guillotine. And I was in the back just as a fan. And when you said it, I was like, oh, good. I'm not the only one that noticed.
Dude,
he
he
keeps
kept jumping
against the fence. I mean, anything you could do wrong, he just kept rinsing and repeating. So I have a feeling like his own social media is probably giving him a hard time, and that was his way of what we call steering into it. I like the comment. You know what else I like? I like the haircut. This sounds like a superstition, but you're the one that brought up it's on Lafayette Street, and when Dustin Poirier buzzes that cut, I'm telling you, he fights better than when he has that long hair.
He's a different guy.
He's a different guy.
He's not the pretty boy Dustin Poirier. He's the fighter Dustin Poirier. Yeah, that guillotine, man. He said he's going to get someone with it, and what a story he would make if his first guillotine submission is against a guy in Islam Makhachev. I just know that's very risky because Makhachev is as good a grappler as there is in the world. But Dustin Poirier is making the rounds, man. He's doing the big shows. And
Islam, your teammate, and Poirier, your schoolmate. You are in a very tough spot, my friend.
you know, I make a lot of friendships, right? But I told this to Dustin. I said, hey, these are the fights I love because I love and respect each and every one of you, each of you both so much that I can't wait to watch you compete and do it on the grandest stage. Because remember the Holloway Gaethje fight? It sucked, but these guys were on UFC 300. Sure. One of the featured fights. And now I got two guys I care about tremendously fighting each other in the main event, UFC 302 for the UFC Championship. It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. I'm so happy and proud for both of those guys.
What about, I mean, talk about what a difference a day makes, but what about the narrative that Islam can never be champion because Islam can never get the fight because Islam can never carry a pay-per-view? Islam's now a star.
He's awesome.
Like, it's not even maybe.
Yeah.
We're looking at Islam. We can't wait to see these fights. We're putting him with our top draws like Dustin. Oh, by the way, there was an offer to Islam to even go up for champ status against Leon. That's how big Islam is. That wasn't here 5 and 6 months ago. I mean, when you make your choice of what promoter am I going to go with, so many guys do forget to look at the promoter. Does he know how to promote a guy like me? Does he have an opportunity for a space guy that does what I do, which is be polite in interviews, not completely be bilingual, but want to try, and by the way, fight like a son of a gun. And you got to find the right guy. Turns out Islam did.
You got to find the right guy. Chael, look, I want to talk Sean Strickland, but I think we need to get our headline hunch.
Yep.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
Chael, so on our headline
Do we have the best graphics department, by the way? I mean, was
They're
that
really
great
good.
or
It looks
what?
like a
I
newspaper.
really thought it was a newspaper.
You like that?
Anyway, that
You
was
like
wonderful.
that?
Yes,
That's
I
what
do
I'm
like
saying.
that.
ESPN. It's like a kind of a big company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little startup, a little
little startup company out in
organization.
Bristol, Connecticut.
Yeah, they got an idea and they're running
Horrible
with it.
town,
Yeah.
but good people work there. You know, Chael, you know, I kind of crap on a lot of towns there lately, Atlantic City and Bristol now. But Chael, headline hunch come Monday. What's the story on Good Guy, Bad Guy?
That's really funny, man. That is so funny for a number of reasons. I'm headed out there after this, by the way.
Unfortunately. Hey, imagine this. I'd rather stay in Newark.
Well, the thing about when I go to Bristol, you'll know what I'm having for dinner because there's only one place to have dinner. But at any rate, to move on beyond that, okay, here's the deal. You brought up Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland has not done what he got brought in to do for this fight. Paulo Costa has not done what they got brought in to do, which is social media. It's antics. It's to go back and forth. Sean Strickland sat down with the media yesterday, and I was at one of the .coms, Daniel, but of the 5 top stories, Strickland had 3 of them. Now, he had 3 of them just because he opened his mouth and started talking about he was going after the gloves and he was going after the contract. He's upset about everything. But we've never seen an upset Sean Strickland. You've seen it gracious, you've seen irritated, you've seen it possibly a cultural warrior, people have called him. He is angry. He feels that he should be in there with Dricus du Plessis. He felt he should have got that opportunity at 300. He can't see how Adesanya, who he defeated, he can't see Dricus, who many of the fans thought he defeated. And I'm only sharing with you, we've got a different Paulo Costa as well. He has also taken his foot off of some of the social gas. Paulo Costa came out to the PI. I'm not sure if you're aware of that for this training camp, but the big question is why? What was happening in his last training camp, or what was happening in that environment that he thought I need to get away from to start to change the results? So you're going to see, however you want to make of that, but you're going to see a different Paulo, and you are going to see an angry Sean Strickland, which I predict is a more dangerous Sean Strickland. Whether this is getting all the hype and allure that people thought or not, this is going to be the bludgeoning of the evening. That's the headline right there. Okay. The bludgeoning of the evening.
I got one for you. All right? I think come Monday, you and I will be talking about the gloves, the new gloves, right? They're rolling them out this weekend. You know, this has been a massive process for the UFC. these new gloves. Islam wears gold gloves this weekend. Dustin wears black gloves. But the key in the glove is that they're much different. They're supposed to be more protective. They're supposed to be better for the fighter. Now, all weekend, since we got here, I've heard many things. One, guys have been having the gloves in training camp. Some enjoy them, some don't. Some say it's better for the grappling. Some say that the gloves feel a little lighter. I think come Monday, we're going to have a real idea of what this glove adds to mixed martial arts, and did we take a step forward like we intended to by designing these. This has been a 2-year process. 2 years to try to curb the eye pokes, to try to make sure guys are safer, to help with the grappling, to increase the grip. There are many little things about the glove that was hard to deal with before. They finally feel strongly enough that they figured those things out to roll them out this weekend. You'll see Islam wearing gold gloves. I saw him the other day as he steps into the octagon, and every champion will wear those going forward. Now, we have a massive pay-per-view this weekend, but June isn't only one big pay-per-view. International Fight Week is on June 29th, live from Las Vegas T-Mobile Arena. It will be headlined by the biggest star in the UFC, Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor makes the UFC, or forces you, because it's always such an event, to do things differently. Well, Dana White had an announcement. This was in regards to the Conor McGregor-Michael Chandler fight. Take a listen.
Next week is UFC 302 in Newark. When that fight is over, I'm jumping on a plane and I'm flying straight to Dublin, Ireland. We're holding the Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler press conference live and free on June 3rd at the 3 Arena. I haven't been to Ireland in a while. The last time I was there was for McGregor-Mayweather presser, and it was incredible, and I expect this to be the same.
Chael, press conference, Dublin, Ireland. Dana White is going to Ireland to watch a press conference. How important is this presser to the fight, especially for Michael Chandler? Because the last time these two were in each other's presence, remember, Conor grabbed him by the face, pushed him. Conor told him he would fight whatever weight class he determined. How important is it for Michael Chandler to assert himself in this fight? And also, can you win a press conference? Is that possible?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you most definitely can. Dana had referenced Conor and Mayweather. I love that reference. And Dana even said this is the last time I've been to Ireland for a presser. Let me just remind you, you're not going to find 10 fights in history, and that's even if you bring boxing into it, where the press conference was held somewhere other than the location where the fight was being held. They're not even on the same continent. I mean, this is how over this is. They have the largest gate in our industry, not just company, in our industry's history already waiting for them. And Dana thinks there's more we can add. He thinks it is worth it to go to Ireland and put this on. And one thing about Michael Chandler is he has really been embracing the entertainment side. From popping up on WWE to agreeing to doing The Ultimate Fighter, which is a show. There's no punches going to be thrown, but you can still win that or still not, and it's still a battle. And I'm only telling you, he is not going to show up and he's not going to concede. Chandler he is going to stand his ground. He wants what Conor has, and it's not just to beat him. He wants those fans. He wants that entertainment. I respect it. You want to be the company's face, you got to at least know there's a battle going on for that position.
Yeah, he has to, man. He has to. I thought that the interaction on The Ultimate Fighter, from the moment Conor walked in there, he was almost in awe of him.
Yep.
Conor walked in, you'll fight whatever weight I say you'll fight. And Mike's just like, okay. Right?
Like, yeah, I actually would, right?
Yeah, whatever you say. And then Conor grabs him by the face. And Conor's almost like talking down to Michael the whole time. It is on Michael Chandler to go to Ireland. Show Conor McGregor, like, hey, I understand who you are. I recognize that you are the A side of this deal. But you do not get to treat me as if I'm just a supporting cast. This thing doesn't go off without me. Maybe that is overstating his value. It might be. But overstate your value. Make this man recognize that he cannot treat you as a subservient. Like, I'm not there to be the guy that elevates you. The narrative in this fight is that Conor McGregor is fighting Michael Chandler because they believe it's a fight that Chandler's going to stand with him and Conor can get a knockout. Yeah. It was like when Cowboy Cerrone was the guy Conor fought when he came back. It's a big enough name, but it doesn't seem to give him the threats that coming back and fighting Dustin Poirier would. Michael Chandler needs to start right now changing the way people are looking at that fight. And the way you do that is you go to Ireland in an arena for a press conference.
Sure.
And you show them, this is my show, and I'm going to whip your boy. I remember when Conor fought at UFC 205 in New York, Khabib was on the main prelim, and he said, I'm going to beat your chicken. He stood in that octagon with all those people booing, but he put him on notice when he was telling Michael Johnson, brother, please just give up. That was the crazy.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
He's like, you have to stop. I don't want to break your arm. Please just tap. I deserve a title fight. And then he goes and starts calling Conor out, but he made it. In that moment, like, man, we got to see these two.
Sure.
Michael Chandler has to go, and he has to assert himself this weekend.
Yes, he does. And I feel that Chandler can go fairly hard. I would love to see bringing of the American flag. And the only reason I say, because now you're showing that audience that I'm not backing down. Now you're showing the audience that just because I'm now outnumbered, I'm not going to wilt. And the same energy, as Kamaru Usman would put it, needs to be displayed by Conor McGregor that he's put in the other press conferences. It's not as though Conor's not going to bring it. What I'm suggesting is that he not go any further, that he not attempt to bully Chandler or give the presence of bullying Chandler just because he's completely backed up. That's not something I've seen from Conor before. I'm just pointing that out for our audience, that this is a fight and somebody's going to win. There is going to be one alpha on that stage, and everybody to this point has backed down from Conor McGregor. I'm suggesting for you, and Floyd even decided to concede it. Just call it in and let Conor have it, and just hope that my fans say, he went too far and looked on sportsmanship like a doofus. Michael Chandler's not going to back down. He's going to come to play. He's going to have things to say. He's going to roll with it. And he is also very unlikely to let Conor put his hands on him for free again.
Yeah, he can't do it. He's got to not allow that to happen. So every press conference, we have things, right? You go up there and you sit there. The first thing you wait for is the reaction from the crowd whenever you make the walk. When you hit the curtain, you know how this press is going to play out. Either you're cheering or you're booing. Yep. And you then make a determination of how you're going to play it. You also do the stare down. Look, this is me and Jones. Our first stare down was a fight, MGM. Whole set got torn down. It was crazy.
And no one got more heat for that than John Anik, and that wasn't even John in between you. That was Schaller.
But look, we had all these different stare downs, right? But they knew right away, we can't let these guys get too close anymore. What are you trying to take from that stare down? With me and him, I knew I wanted to check. It was always going to be intense. Yep. But it was like, oh, man, we're getting close to beating the out of each other. And that is what I wanted. What do you think Chandler needs to get or McGregor needs to get out of that first stare down?
Well, and it's a number of even the small things, like that you would think that you only do as a little kid. The things that you did on recess as a little kid, they carry over to the octagon. By example, who breaks eye contact? That's a big deal. It's a big deal. You're staring the guy down, and he's staring you back, and somebody's got to blink, and somebody's got to turn away. And whether you think that anybody's keeping track of that or not, between you and your opponent, you are. So you can come out real loose as though we're not engaged in that, but if you start it, you've also got to finish it, which then can get weird. You look at each other. One guy's getting close. So like if you ever did a face-off with Michael Bisping, you're getting headbutt. It'll be soft, but he's going to put that head right on you. He did that to me, as a matter of fact. You know what I said to him? I said, you smell good. What are you wearing?
No, you didn't.
Threw him off. To this day, he's like, I still don't have a response for that. I'm only sharing for you, like these moments, even if it's just between the boys, if it's just between the athletes, they do learn something. Don Fry, if you remember, got in a face-off with Ken Shamrock and they locked up. And Don Fry was so grateful. He said, before that fight, the one thing I was scared of was the strength of Shamrock, but now I know it. And that is real.
He tricked him. He tricked him into let me feel your strength. Mask is off.
Yep.
See what I'm saying?
The mask is off. Now I know, and it's very
man.
different, man. Some of these guys have an allure. Maybe you trained with them, maybe you're in the room with them, maybe you hung out with them one time, but now that mask comes off and you can go out and compete as opposed to dealing with the fear. I'm just sharing for you. Like there is a lot of things that go on at a press conference, even more than the words coming into the microphone.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. These press conferences are something else. Yep. Now, Chael, speaking of press conferences, you are the undefeated champion of the press conference. So, as we start this next segment, I'm going to ask you, Michael Chandler, one question, and I'm going to ask you, Conor McGregor, one question, and now we'll talk to Chael Sonnen about questions.
Okay.
But look at Michael Chandler. He is at a Chael Sonnen press conference. You're talking, doing Chael Sonnen. Chandler is just taking notes. Is Michael Chandler smarter than we thought? Look at him. He's so locked in, he's like, oh, I'm going to use that one.
Chandler is actually. He is a student of this. I mean, When Frankie Edgar retired, I now need a new favorite fighter, and I got it down to a couple, but Chandler's on that list, and I'm just telling you because he's an entertainer, and I do appreciate it, and he does study these types of things. I mean, it is a very big deal, and he knows that there is a game being played. I mean, one thing that Chandler and Conor have in common, you understand, Daniel, they're not fighting for a championship, which International Fight Week historically always has a world championship. They're not fighting for a contendership. In fact, they're not even fighting at a weight class where they're trying to get into the rankings. So why are they fighting? Why is this working? Why is there a $23 million gate already sitting and waiting for them? Why is a press conference, the boss is taken to a different continent? Like, there's something very fascinating here. One thing they got in common is neither of them won their last matches. And I'm only telling you that never feeds in. Two guys that are coming off losses do not go into a record-setting fight. So why is this, right? There's something special, and there's something unique here, and there's a lot on the line. Michael Chandler is fighting to try to take Conor's fans. He openly told me that. He said, I think he's got the most fans. I think if I beat him, some of them come with me. Whether he's right or not, there's his motivation. He's told us. I think that Conor's fighting for something much greater. I think that Conor is fighting for the ability to get another fight. I'm not positive with the record that's Conor having, or being knocked out, or in this class when he got injured so badly it had to take 2 years. Not for nothing, I'm not positive that is a foregone conclusion, and I think that that's a very serious thing to fight for, and I think that's something that maybe the audience is missing, and I hope that Conor has the courage to admit that and to advertise it. I think it's a great story.
It's a great story, and it's going to be a great fight. Now, Chael, before we get into our fake press conference, yeah, I want to go to some clips. Now, guys, if I want to do
faux, F-O is
F-A-U-X, I think it's called. Like fake bags and fake watches, those types of things. I want to, if you go through anybody, the best guys to get press conference clips, you may have to go to a press conference here, a press conference there, a press conference here. Chael Sonnen, we took some calls from one presser. Take a listen. One press conference.
Well, for those of you that can't see, this is the World Championship title of which I took from Anderson Silva. And in this country, possession is 9/10 of the law. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. And if he wants it back, he knows where to find me. You're looking at the reflection of perfection, the one that gets all your attention. You're looking at the man with the biggest arms, the man with the greatest charm, and the man in Chicago to do a lot of harm to a guy 3 doors down. Maybe I could ask a question. Maybe I could ask 3 of Michael Bisping. First, what you gonna do when you know who? How you gonna deal with the man of steel? And how will you react to Sonnen's attack? Tune in on the 28th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will find out who the real world champion is.
One press conference, Chael. This was one. All right, guys. So here's what we got. Chael's Masterclass.
All right, here we go.
It's time to go into this Masterclass of you answering questions. First, I want you to be Michael Chandler, so get your Chandler hat on. Answer it as Michael Chandler. Maybe he'll take something from this. All right? Give me a second. All right? Ready?
Here we go.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike. Daniel Cormier here, ESPN. Mike, you're going over to Ireland. How do you plan to win over McGregor's home crowd?
What was your name? It was Dan Cormier?
Yeah, Dan Cormier from ESPN.
With ESPN.
Yeah, small company in the United States.
Yeah, little mom and pop organization.
Yes,
started up in Bristol, still trying to get out of the garage.
Yes, we are, sir.
Well, I'm glad that somebody bought you a plane ticket over here because I'm sure that you and your company couldn't afford it. All right. Moving on, you asked me about Conor McGregor. He's coming off a leg injury. For goodness sakes, the last time I saw him, he's sitting on his ass doing an interview with Joe Rogan because he wasn't even tough enough to stand. The next time I see him, he's drunk down at the club. I could beat a fresh and sober Conor McGregor. Wait until you see what I do to a drunk and broken one. Next question, Dan from ESPN.
Okay. Mr. McGregor, Daniel Cormier, I'm just happy to have your time from ESPN. Hey, Conor, what's one thing that you can't and should not do in the octagon against Michael Chandler?
I'll do anything I want to Michael Chandler. There's nothing he can do to stop me. The guy is slow. Look at the size of my hand. I got the biggest hands, Dan. He's got the the smallest head. I hit this guy one time. I'm going to stiffen him. I'm going to stiffen him straight up. I mean, I swear to God, people call me Mystic Mac. It's like I got a crystal ball. I see these things. I can see these things, Dan. Michael Chandler, I could see him realistically. Maybe we go into the third round. Maybe we go in the third round. But either way, I put him stiff.
Okay, Mike, what is the one thing that you do better than Conor McGregor? Oh, Mike, you really enjoy looking at yourself.
What do I do better than Conor McGregor? Conor McGregor goes out there. He's got a record in boxing of 0-1. I got a better boxing record than he does. Now, I admit that it's 0-0, but at least I didn't go out there and get beat by a guy 15 pounds smaller than me. Now, that's ancient history. Let's talk about current affairs. Dan from ESPN.
Okay.
It seems to go like this. I got 2 All-American awards from Division I wrestling. He never even had a wrestling match. I see guys go out and take him down. I'll take him down anytime I want. I'm going to punch my way into the clinches, they say. I think I got better hands than he does. I don't think that he can crack an egg. I don't think he hits that hard. Quite frankly, I really don't. And he's missing 155 pounds. I begged for this weight class to be 3 rounds at 155 like it should be. We're up here at 170 because he doesn't have the discipline to make the weight. So you ask me what I do better than Conor McGregor? Apparently, I eat a little better and I go to practice a little bit more. Dan?
Wow. Okay, this question is for both of you guys. Finish this sentence for me. Conor, if you are Michael Chandler and all else fails, what do you do?
If all else fails against Mike, I mean, I like Mike. You got to understand. I like Mike. He's a cute guy. He wears these clothes. You know, I find a guy named Dustin Poirier. He's a simple hillbilly from a circus town. And Mike, he kind of reminds me of the same thing. You know, he's like Nick's little brother. He's just one of these guys, and he's very cute. And I hope he has a good career. I really do. I haven't seen him fight, and I heard he came over from the other organization that ended up getting sold to the other organization. I don't really know a lot about him. I thought that he was the champion over there, but he didn't bring his belt here. I don't know if this is a title for or not, but, Mike, he's a lot like Nick's little brother.
Mike, same question for you. What do you do if all else fails?
I'll take him down. DC, I'll take him down. My wrestling is never not going to work on Conor McGregor. The last time I saw him fight, it was against Dustin Poirier, a guy that I beat, by the way, a guy that has a tainted victory over me. He takes my back on television, and he chokes the life out of me, and the referee lets it go. He gets right behind me where I can't even see him. I can't even see him. And he puts his hand around my neck until I can't even breathe. And the referee, he just lets it happen and then calls him the victor. I beat the guy up on his feet, and the only reason I was even on the ground with Dustin Poirier is because he didn't want to be on the feet with him anymore. A place, the feat that Conor McGregor could not survive with Dustin Poirier. And I only bring that to you because it's a common opponent. That's in the stand-up for sure. I could beat him on the ground.
Come on, guys in the back. Everybody in the back. Everybody in the back.
Did I mention it's June 29th? ESPN pay-per-view. Mark it on your calendar now.
Oh, that was awesome. Chael.
Michael Chael, I see him flex in case you're not getting
He
the
does
reference.
that a lot. Yeah, he does it a lot.
And he's got a pretty good bicep.
He's got a great body. He's strong. He's a strong guy.
Was the Conor accent needed?
It was really good. It
It
spot
wasn't
on.
bad. I've never practiced
was
that.
really good.
I've never done it before.
I know it was really, really good. So last question for you, Chael Sonnen.
Oh, okay.
Chael, what's the secret to being undefeated? Hey, listen, I've fallen flat on my face a couple times at press conferences. I made a mistake once. I told the fans not to boo me. You can't tell them not to boo you. I made a mistake, Chael.
Huge mistake.
It's a huge mistake. I pointed out my opponent's faults, Chael. They booed me again.
Booed you again. I was at that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Every moment I got smaller and smaller up on that stage. But you never experienced that. What was it that allowed for you to be so successful in those situations?
I will tell you this, and I love that compliment, but in fairness, no one was competing with me. I mean, they weren't trying. They didn't come there to play that game. They just let me have that end of the pool. And the reason I point out that significant difference is Conor has had that same respect shown to him. I mean, I'll just remind you, Khabib did a press conference. Now, it happened, it was on time, and Conor was late. But either way, he got up and walked out before Conor ever. Yeah, and that wasn't just out of respect. Why get into that with McGregor? Why get in his back? If I'm going to sit here, I'm going to end up looking like a fool. This guy's better at it. He speaks a little clearer within the native tongue. I mean, I'm just sharing for you, Chandler is going to play. Chandler is coming to win this press conference. How does he do it, and at what point does he break? It's just like a fight. You will see guys at a press conference break. You'll see... They'll laugh. The guy will say something. They'll actually laugh. Like, God, he got me, and I have no comeback. And they'll start to take a back seat. I'm just predicting for you, Chandler doesn't do that. I think these guys are going to go at it. Floyd back down. Floyd backed down at some
After a
point from
point, it's
Conor.
like, this is just too much.
Yeah.
Floyd's like, this, hey, I mean, as long as you don't end up like Jeremy Stevens. When he took my old man. When you remember when Jeremy Stevens took that shot at Conor? Oh,
Who the fuck is that guy?
That was literally one of the worst. I felt so bad for Jeremy
I did
Stevens.
too.
Oh, my goodness.
And Jeremy, by the way, kind of got out of that because they said something like, well, your mom knows who I am. But then later, Jeremy ran into his mom, and the mom did like photos and helped him put it out on social media.
Yeah, kind of got him a little bit. Helped him
Mrs.
out.
Beck, helped him
See,
out a
that's
little
good,
bit. She
but
was
Conor's
cool.
mom was
She
actually
cool.
the one that saved him. All right, guys, listen. So that presser goes down on Monday. It's going to be crazy. Bananas. The fact that we're talking about a press conference, the fact that we're all going to tune in to watch the press conference is a big deal. So Chael and I will be with you live after the press conference. Special good guy, bad guy. Right after those guys are done to talk about all the antics of the fighters. And obviously, we're going to recap UFC 302. Every week, Chael and I tell you in the comments, ask us your questions. Now air. What do you have for us this week?
This question is from Hollywood 6. What is one fight that you had lined up that the fans never knew about? Chael.
Daniel, was a 185-pounder, and I was ranked very high, but I'd already fought for a championship, and I had agreed to and even gone to practice Lyoto Machida at 205 pounds. And one of the reasons I remember it so well, I did not want to fight with him. Randy Couture had tried, and Dan Henderson, my teammates, had tried. He was just a very weird recipe, but I got the call. It was actually Lorenzo did it, and so we agreed. We went to practice. I remember thinking, man, 205 pounds of Machida's a lot. I didn't say anything. I just agreed to the fight. Dana found out the next day, and he actually disagreed. He said, hey, I think I can run one for a 205-pound title, one for an 85-pound title. I don't want to erase them. Keep these guys in their own divisions. Fight never happened.
You know, the one for me, and it's going to be a name that you might not remember. You'll probably remember, but I don't know if the fans will. But I ended up fighting Dan Henderson on Memorial Day weekend in 2014. I was actually scheduled to fight in July against a guy named Rafael Feijão.
Sure.
Rafael Feijão. He had beaten King Mo in Strikeforce to become the light heavyweight champion. Came over to the UFC and had a phenomenal start. He was a tremendous striker, great fighter. It was going to be the first time I fought at 205. No, I just started to fight at 205. Dan Henderson needed an opponent 6 weeks later because something happened. So I ended up fighting Dan opposed to waiting to fight Rafael Feijão. That wasn't a fight I wasn't that excited about that fight, but I was even more scared when I found out that I was going to be fighting Dan Henderson.
Dan Henderson, you were behind him. He came to his feet. He was kind of doing a collar stand-up to get away, and as he broke away, you tripped his feet out.
That was bad.
It's one of the main things I remember that fight. Old Dan went down. That was actually a fun match. Feijão has a uncle who is a high-up member within the Brazilian government. It turns out, unlike America of freedom of speech against your government, they do not have that in Brazil. You cannot speak out against the government. So when I went to do the Ultimate Fighter there, he had called his uncle, who called a federal judge, and put a warrant out for me. Thank God in heaven above, Joe Silva found out and got to Dana and got a lawyer before that plane.
Feijão was trying to get you arrested.
And Feijão's never told me. He's never told me, hey, by the way, I thought you were a real judge. No, like Feijão and I get along. He doesn't know that I know that. But now he does.
Now.
But now he does.
Now he does. Feijão, that's a damn shame. All right, guys.
What a low move. Come on, Feijão. I'm trying to move some pay-per-views over here.
This dude's tripping. All right, guys. Ask us anything in the comments. Chael and I will answer it every episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. Catch us Monday and Thursday wherever you get your podcast. ESPN MMA YouTube, ESPN2, and again, wherever you get your podcast. UFC 302 goes down in 2 days. It's going to be bananas from the Prudential Center. I'm Daniel Cormier. That's the bad guy, Chael Sonnen. Until next time, we'll catch you guys. Peace.